Hello friend, welcome back to Heritage Homestead. We are surviving the Arctic chill as best we can right now, and it seems like the right time to make some chicken soup. Today I'm canning Ball's chicken soup recipe with a few safe tweaks. In the past, when I've made the Ball chicken soup recipe, there were two things that I didn't quite like about it. One was that there's just a lot of broth to filling. I like a good high filling to broth ratio, so I'm going to increase the veggies a bit and make this a fuller soup. The other thing I'm going to tweak is that the recipe calls for starting with cooked chicken, and then that chicken goes into the pot and is boiled for 30 minutes, and then it's processed for 90 minutes in the canner. That's just a lot for chicken to go through. My chicken came out kind of chewy by the end of that, so I'm going to toss raw chicken into the pot just before I ladle this into jars for canning. Ball calls for that same technique with their hearty chicken stew recipe, so I feel comfortable that this is a safe adaptation. To my chicken stock, I'm adding a cup of onions. That follows the original recipe. Then the original recipe calls for 1.5 cups each of carrots and celery. That's where I'm gonna bump things up and do 2 cups. 2 cups celery, 2 cups carrots. These are the last of the carrots from the garden. Not my garden, I ran out of mine, but my brother gave me some because he grew extra. I'm gonna let these veggies simmer for 30 minutes, and then I will toss in my raw chicken and pack things into jars. This has had its 30 minute simmer, so I'm going to season with some salt. I'm using my Redmond real salt, which I love and use for everything. And then this is the time before I toss in that raw chicken to taste the broth and see if I want any other seasonings. So that's the right amount of salt for me. This is completely to taste. Of course, you could also add pepper. My kids are delicate about pepper. Just a little bit of black pepper will make this too spicy for my son, so we just do salt. You also could add dried herbs and seasonings at this point if you want to. Up to 2 teaspoons per quart jar is considered a safe addition to a canning recipe, so this is going to be 4 quarts, so 8 teaspoons of whatever you like if you want to personalize this. I'm fine with, for chicken soup, I'm fine with it just having salt. I like to be able to taste the veggies in the chicken. So I've got 4 cups of raw chicken going in. This chicken is the reason I made this recipe. I was grocery shopping yesterday and found a great sale on organic chicken because its use by date was today. So normally I do most of my canning as a way to preserve garden produce, but I love that canning also allows me to take advantage of sales. So I'm ready to fill my jars. I've got my 4 quart jars sitting here with hot water in them. I'm going to dump 2 of these into my canner because the canner needs 2 quarts of hot water to start. If you've seen any of my other videos, you've seen plenty of this canner, but if this is your first video, I absolutely love my Nesco canner. It's the only pressure canner I have. So I've not used a stovetop pressure canner. The capacity of a stovetop pressure canner tempts me to get one sometimes, but the ease of this is just amazing to me. There's so much less to monitor and it's really accessible to learn. So if you've ever found pressure canning intimidating because you've heard stories of some relative whose, stove exploded or the canner exploded and it was chaos, this just not modern day canning, and it's not canning with an electric canner. This is safe, this is doable. If you've thought you want to try it, go for it. When I'm canning soup, I like to start with a slotted spoon so that I can distribute the solids evenly. Otherwise, I just end up with 1 jar that's mostly broth, 1 jar that's mostly solids. It's just disappointing that way. This way ensures that there's enough to go around of everything, and it's a good balance. So the solids are now distributed, and I'm really happy with how full these are. When I followed the traditional recipe to a T, it was a little bit less than half full and the rest was broth. So I'm ready to fill these up with broth.
There's a man around the corner, he's been asking me for change and I could use some. Think I could use some sometimes, all these things slowly.
When I'm canning with the Nesco, I leave generous headspace. So this bottom ridge is about 1 inch, and that's what's called for in these recipes. I'm gonna do about 1 1/4. I wanna see a little space below the bottom ridge. I've just found that the Nesco can be a little prone to siphoning.
There's a hole here in my pocket, it reminds me of the ways I used to hungry. Always running for an open door.
Oh, and also I don't actually need to use the ridge as a guide. I should have shown you I'm using my 4 jars funnel, and it's got its own notches cut out to show headspace. So this bottom one shows you where an inch is. I could just fill to where liquid barely touches this bottom line and it would already be perfect. I don't need a headspace tool anymore.
Maybe it's all just to prove that I'm alive.
I'm just gonna give this a little stir to let out any air bubbles that are trapped in there. This looks so good. Making this with homemade broth really takes it to the next level. If that's not something you do, it can still be delicious with, you know, store-bought broth, but some good bone broth, chicken stock really kind of makes the soup, because it's a simple soup. The broth is definitely the featured flavor. I'm just wiping down my rims. This isn't a very messy recipe, so I'm just using a damp paper towel, but normally if it's something messy, I'd use some vinegar. And then my lids have been sitting in some warm water just to activate the seal. I'm using 4 jars. They've done well for me. And bands are going on just to fingertip tight. I'm setting my pressure limiting valve to exhaust. It's the space in between these dots. And then these need to process for 90 minutes. I wanted my soup in quart jars because that's about a lunch serving for my husband and I. He works from home, so we often take our lunch together. 2 quarts for my family would be a decent sized dinner as long as I added bread and salad to it. But of course this could also go into pints. To me, a pint is perfect if you want a lunch for 1. Maybe you're a lighter eater than I am. For me, that's why I would choose to do a pint. So pints will process for 75 minutes, and of course be sure to adjust for your altitude with your pressure limiting valve, and then quarts process for 90 minutes.